that it's okay, even if they're lying on their packaging, they're lying in their marketing, they're obfuscating, they're not telling us the whole truth, that it's okay that we look the other way. And we do. Hey, Food Slayers. It's Michelle here from foodslain.com. I'm making this video because I just watched something on YouTube that really ties into this week's topic. So this is going to be just a little bonus video for this week because I think the point that the video that I just watched makes is paramount. So the video was about marketing and specifically about food marketing. And this woman who is a professional marketer and consultant in the food industry pointed out that there were three things that make food marketing possible. And the first one is that we believe what's on the label. And in food marketing, the way that marketers build brands, and they do branding, they do messaging, they do graphics, is that they use words that make us feel good, right, about what we're purchasing. So though the reality may be one thing, on the label, they're going to put farm fresh or 100% natural or, blah, blah, blah free, or certified this or certified that, just to make us feel good and to build trust with us as consumers. Because most people I don't know if it's most people, but I would say at least 50% of shoppers in the grocery stores don't really have time to dig as deeply into the background of food companies as, say, somebody like me, right? So you go into the grocery store and you want to buy something and you see the label that says farm fresh or all natural or 100% natural, then you think, oh, okay, this is good. I feel good about this purchase. So that's number one. Whether that is true or not, the other 50% of consumers that maybe don't trust labeling so much, right, might focus on number two in food marketing, which is we want to see progress. And the point that this woman was making in this video really kind of shifted the perspective to what companies do to convince us that they're making progress in their business. So say, for example, if you're looking at a company and maybe you have been to the store, you look at their label and you don't really trust what they're telling you on the label. So you want to kind of dig a little bit deeper. You go to their website and right on their homepage, you see a picture, say, of a farmer right in the middle with an animal, but it's kind of cropped in a way that you can't really see what's going on, even though the animal might be in a CAFO. But these are feedlots, basically, that our meat is produced in. And you don't see the whole picture. You don't see the animal kind of in the cage completely. You just see a part of it, and you see them nursing their babies, or you see, people smiling. And the language that they're using is focused on what the progress is. So they'll use words like, oh, we're optimizing our process, or we're following these rules, or we reached this benchmark, or we've got a sustainability plan, greenwashing. There's a lot of that happening in food marketing, but it's all in an effort to convince us in the marketing and in the language and the messaging that this company is making progress towards something that is valuable to us as consumers, right? Or valuable in the environment, or valuable to our health, or whatever the message is. But it's to communicate that they're making progress. And number three, we are the magic ingredient, right? Because we are the ones making the purchase. We're the consumers, right? We are the demand for the product. And so these companies have to get us with number one and number two, right? The image, the messaging, the branding, the language, the colors, all of this stuff on the label. But ultimately, they have to convince us to accept what they're saying to us, no questions asked, right? That it's okay, even if they're lying on their packaging, they're lying in their marketing, they're obfuscating, they're not telling us the whole truth, that it's okay that we look the other way. And we do. And that's very, very compelling because we do have a choice. And that's really it. We have a choice. We can choose to say no. We can choose to get companies to be more transparent. We have the power, the purchasing power as consumers to take, just to kind of remove the layers of marketing and programming. They call it neuro-linguistic programming for a reason, because they are programming our eyes, they're programming our minds, they're programming our habits that we just, keep going and keep going and keep going because we turn the other way. They don't have to change anything. They can continue to do what they're doing. And that's what this podcast is about, in part, is about pulling back that curtain, taking off the layer of BS, taking the icing off the cake, right? And digging into the ingredients and seeing what's happening. There was a big study in marketing and neurolinguistic programming after World War II. And there was this invention of the cake mix. And if you've heard of this experiment, then you already know what I'm going to say. But if you haven't, then listen up, because there was this experiment that there were housewives at home, bake cakes from scratch, but the big companies wanted to be able to put this cake mix in a box and have housewives just add water. They made it really, really easy. And they were like, all you have to do is add water. And they made the product. They put it on the shelves. It just bombed. It didn't sell. So they took it off the market. And then they started doing market research to figure out what was the problem. Turns out the problem is that housewives felt guilty about feeding their families something out of the box. They just didn't want to do it, and that's why the product didn't sell. But guess what they changed? They changed one thing. Instead of, reformulating the whole thing, they just removed whatever ingredient was that was the binding ingredient to make the cake a cake when you bake it. And then all the housewives had to do now is add water and an egg. And that's all they changed. And guess what happened after that? It exploded. Hence the reason why we have box cake mixes throughout the grocery store. We have so many options of cake mixes and pre-made mixes of things. That was a really interesting transformation in consumer marketing, because what they found in the research was that housewives, they wanted to do more, and they were feeling guilty for not, doing more for their families. So it's just something to kind of know and think about, because we do live in a culture of convenience. We work, we have families, we have lots of things to do every day, all day. Who has time to sit around and bake a cake from scratch? Besides me. I'm sure some of you do too. But a lot of people don't, and they want to be able to, have a treat and treat their family to something delicious. So that was a pretty interesting invention. And if you listened to a previous podcast on bananas, then you know that I talked a little bit about Ed Bernays. And if you don't know who Ed Bernays is, you should definitely look up Ed Bernays, because he's one of the really, he's a legendary marketer and the inventor of propaganda. basically, which, he rebranded to call PR. So there's that. But he was really instrumental in the marketing of bananas. He was instrumental in the marketing of cigarettes to women. He was really instrumental in the marketing of the all-American breakfast of bacon and eggs. So you should check out his work and his legacy. He's the nephew of Sigmund Freud, who was one of the premier psychotherapists that kind of uncovered how the human mind works. He worked on planned obsolescence projects with, how our products work and how we consume, and it's fascinating. If nothing else, it's fascinating, and it ties into how we consume, not just with our dollars or with our mouths, but how we consume with our minds, and how we really don't have control over a lot of the messaging if we don't even know what to look for. We don't even know where it's coming from or how it works. So I encourage you to listen into the next episode with Jana Short. We're going to talk a little bit about neurolinguistic programming in food marketing. But as a side, I encourage you to look into it a little bit deeper, because it is used in marketing, in food marketing, and it is used often, and it is used very, very effectively, especially when it comes to our children. So there's that. But that's where I'm going to end this little Amuse Bouche video and episode, which you can listen to on foodslain.com, or you're listening to it now. So thank you so much for listening to it. Or if you're watching the video, thank you for watching this video. Please share it and subscribe. Please support me and support this podcast and this channel by subscribing, by sharing episodes, leave a comment, send it to a friend. Let's continue the conversation.
Hook up with me. Is that neurolinguistic programming? No, I don't want you to hook up with me. I want you to chat with me.
Let's have a conversation on the socials. So find me there. And until the next time, remember to eat clean, eat healthy, and love your food. And I'll see you on the other side of the plate. Ciao.